Welcome back to the channel, Coins Dealer Collectors and Treasure Hunters, to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where today we're going to talk about an absolutely incredible discovery that has rocked the numismatic community and left many collectors scrambling through their pocket change hoping to strike gold, or rather, silver, with the iconic 1987 D-quarter dollar from the United States that has recently been appraised and verified to be worth a staggering $112 million, far surpassing its modest 25-cent face value, and the reasons behind its astronomical valuation aren't just myth or hype but grounded in a variety of extremely rare and significant errors, minting anomalies, and production oddities that make this particular specimen not just rare, but quite possibly one of a kind. And as we unpack the story of this coin, we'll look at how such an immense valuation could be justified, what specific features make it stand apart from millions of others minted that same year at the Denver Mint, and why the error coin market is so passionately driven by pieces like this that defy logic and standard minting processes, beginning with the basics of the 1987 D Washington quarter, which was struck during a relatively uneventful year for US coinage, as no special commemorative issues or major design changes were made, and yet despite that, one particular coin managed to slip through the layers of mechanical precision, inspection, and quality control and emerge into circulation, or possibly escape it entirely, carrying within its small metallic form a confluence of errors so significant and so visually striking that seasoned numismatists immediately recognized it as something entirely unprecedented, and the value attached to it isn't just because it's rare, though rarity certainly plays a part, but because this coin features an almost mythical combination of mint errors rarely ever seen on a single piece, starting with an off-center strike that leaves parts of the design literally falling off the edge of the coin's planchette, while simultaneously displaying a strong double-die obverse that causes the image of George Washington and the surrounding inscriptions like "I in God We Trust" and "Liberty" to appear ghosted or doubled, producing a surreal effect. But it doesn't stop there, because this particular specimen also exhibits a dramatic die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies came into contact without a planchette in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the reverse design visible on the obverse side and vice versa. And as if that weren't enough, the coin's edge reveals a partial collar strike, creating what collectors refer to as a railroad rim, further adding to the dramatic appearance and minting irregularity. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping anomaly is the presence, or rather the confusion, of the mint mark. Because instead of the usual D denoting the Denver Mint, this coin features a bizarrely malformed and misaligned mint mark that some experts speculate may have been the result of a broken punch or an incorrectly installed mint mark die. And while mint mark anomalies on their own can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, the sheer illegibility and unique appearance of this one have led to intense debates and forensic-level study, with some numismatists suggesting that the mark might even show traces of a P underneath the D, implying a possible overpunched mint mark, which would be unprecedented in the modern era of US coinage and possibly the result of a clandestine or experimental process, further fueling the mystique and speculation around how such a coin came to exist in the first place, especially considering the rigorous quality control in place at the US Mint in the 1980s. And then there's the composition test results, which show that this particular quarter might have been struck on a transitional planchette, meaning it was minted on a metal blank intended for a different denomination or even a different year, adding yet another layer of intrigue and value, particularly because metal composition errors are among the rarest and most prized among error collectors, and in this case, spectroscopy analysis has revealed the coin may contain a higher silver content than expected, despite 1987 quarters being struck on standard copper-nickel-clad planchets, which leads to even more speculation that perhaps this blank was left over from a special minting process or a rejected foreign coin planchette somehow mixed into the feed for domestic quarters. And when you combine all of these traits, off-center strike, double die obverse, die clash, partial collar, anomalous mint mark, and unexpected metal composition, you get a coin that's not just a curiosity but a true marvel of minting history, a physical record of multiple mistakes that somehow aligned perfectly into one singular piece. And it's this almost poetic convergence of errors that transforms the 1987 D quarter from ordinary to extraordinary, from common to priceless. And while many might be skeptical of a $112 million valuation for a single quarter, we must remember that the value of collectibles is ultimately determined by what someone is willing to pay. And in this case, an anonymous collector reportedly outbid several high-profile competitors, including private museums and hedge fund-backed investment firms, to secure the coin in a private transaction documented by reputable numismatic institutions, and while details of the sale remain confidential, the verified appraisals and third-party authentications by organizations like PCGS and NGC have confirmed both the authenticity and uniqueness of the coin, further solidifying its place in history as possibly the most valuable era coin ever known, and this has inspired a wave of public interest, with many individuals now turning to their spare change, old coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten drawers in search of a 1987 quarter with even the slightest hint of an error, because while no other coin exactly like this one has surfaced, even partial examples of similar errors, like minor double dies or slight off-center strikes, can still fetch significant prices on the secondary market, and the beauty of this story lies in its accessibility, as anyone could, in theory, stumble upon the next great coin simply by paying closer attention, which is why this tale of the $112 million quarter has resonated so deeply across social media, auction houses, collector forums, and mainstream media outlets alike, and it's worth noting that the psychology behind such finds also contributes to their mystique, tapping into our collective desire to discover hidden treasure and to possess something truly unique, and unlike many collectibles that rely on age or provenance alone, era coins offer a different kind of allure, one rooted in the inherent imperfections of a system designed for perfection, and the 1987 D quarter is a shining example of that, a reminder that even in a sea of millions of identical items, sometimes the most extraordinary things are created by accident, and for those of you wondering if your own 1987 quarters might be worth a closer look, the answer is a resounding yes, especially if you see signs of doubling, misalignment, unusual textures, or anything that looks out of place, and while most will turn out to be normal and worth their face value, the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of finding even a lesser error can make the process immensely rewarding, both financially and emotionally, and we encourage all of you to share your finds, your stories, and your questions with the growing community of enthusiasts who are equally captivated by the magic of coin collecting, because you never know when the next record-breaking discovery might come from a viewer just like you, holding a small piece of metal history in the palm of their hand, without even knowing it. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a curious newcomer, let this incredible story of the 1987 D quarter serve as a powerful reminder that value isn't always about what something was intended to be, but rather what it has become, and in the world of coins, sometimes the biggest treasures come in the smallest, most unexpected packages, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures. Today we're about to uncover the jaw-dropping story behind one of the most talked-about modern coins in numismatic circles, the 1990 D quarter dollar from the United States, which is astonishingly rumored and documented by collectors to be worth up to $13 million despite its face value of just 25 cents, and the journey of how this coin transformed from common pocket change into a legendary artifact of minting history is both thrilling and enlightening, offering a rare glimpse into the convergence of accidental artistry, technical flaws, and collector frenzy, all centered around a seemingly insignificant coin struck over 3 decades ago at the Denver Mint, where millions of quarters were produced in the ordinary course of commerce. Yet among those masses emerged an extraordinary anomaly, a coin whose errors are so unique and its condition so pristine, it has become a holy grail for serious collectors, investors, and enthusiasts who understand the value of numismatic rarity. And it all starts with the misstrike that set this coin apart from the rest, because the 1990 D quarter features a combination of rare and extreme errors that are practically unheard of in modern minting, which typically include state-of-the-art quality control measures, but somehow in this case, a perfect storm of minting mistakes converged to create a single specimen that bypassed all checkpoints, notably exhibiting an off-center strike, doubling on key inscriptions such as Liberty and I in God We Trust, and most intriguingly, an extremely rare mint mark error where the D mark representing the Denver Mint was either partially missing, misplaced, or appeared to be repunched, a phenomenon in which the mint mark appears to have been struck more than once but misaligned each time, causing a ghost-like or shadowy double impression that can only be detected under magnification, and when this anomaly is combined with an extremely sharp die clash that left visible impressions of reverse design elements on the obverse side, we begin to see why collectors are labeling this coin a once-in-a-generation find, especially because such an array of errors appearing simultaneously on a single coin is astronomically unlikely and makes for an artifact that cannot be duplicated nor easily explained away. And even further pushing it into the stratosphere of desirability is the fact that this coin was found in near-perfect uncirculated condition, meaning that despite the passage of time and the rough environment that quarters typically endure, this particular coin retained its luster, sharpness, and definition, which added exponential value when it came time for grading and auction. And speaking of grading, third-party certification by a reputable agency like PCGS or NGC not only authenticated the coin's errors but assigned it an MS68 or higher grade, which for any coin, especially a modern quarter, is an incredibly rare score. And once such certification was made public, the buzz among numismatic communities exploded, driving interest not only in the coin itself but also prompting thousands of people to check their own change in hopes of finding another such anomaly, even though current research and auction records suggest that only a single example of this exact error configuration exists, making it what collectors call a unique specimen and giving it value beyond the sum of its metallic content or face denomination, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity is king and provenance is queen. And once the story of this coin began to circulate across collector forums, social media groups, auction houses, and news outlets, its legend grew exponentially, with bidding wars at elite auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers pushing the price far beyond anyone's expectations. And while most error coins sell for modest premiums, the combination of unique mint mark error, die clash, double strike, off-center misalignment, and high-grade preservation created a perfect storm that resulted in a valuation well over $13 million, a figure that stunned even veteran coin dealers and historians, prompting further investigations into how such an error could have passed unnoticed through the minting process and whether it was the result of human oversight, equipment malfunction, or an undocumented experimental strike that somehow found its way into public circulation. And while the US Mint has never officially commented on this specific coin due to its unknown chain of custody post-minting, the historical context of the 1990 production year shows that this was a transitional period where several modernizations were taking place in minting facilities, possibly increasing the likelihood of rare errors slipping through. And while it's important to note that not all 1990 D quarters are valuable, this one stands apart due to the perfect storm of errors, its exceptional condition, and the astronomical odds against its creation, all of which make it a magnet for high-end collectors and investment portfolios, because coins like this are not only physical objects but cultural time capsules, imbued with historical value, mystery, and the allure of owning something truly one of a kind. And as such, the $13 million valuation is not merely based on physical properties but on intangible qualities that turn it into a symbol of numismatic perfection and rarity, a unicorn of the coin world if you will. And if you're still wondering how such a simple quarter can be worth more than a mansion or a fleet of luxury cars, then you're beginning to grasp the incredible impact of minting errors when combined with scarcity, public fascination, historical curiosity, and elite collector competition. And what's perhaps most exciting about this story is that it reignites the passion for everyday treasure hunting, because yes, you could technically find such a coin in loose change or inherited collections, and although the chances are microscopic, stories like this remind us that extraordinary value can sometimes be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye, a little bit of luck, and a lot of curiosity. So if you're a collector, a treasure hunter, or just someone intrigued by the idea that a humble quarter from 1990 could be worth millions due to a cascade of minting errors, then this story is proof that the world of numismatics still holds secrets, surprises, and stunning stories of unimaginable value, and that one coin, just one, can change the life of its discoverer forever. World's most fascinating and valuable coins, and today's episode is going to absolutely blow your mind because we're talking about a seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change that could actually be worth over $106 million. Yes, you heard that right. $106 million for a single 1991 D quarter dollar from the United States. And if you're scratching your head wondering how something with a face value of just 25 cents could possibly be worth such an astronomical sum, then strap in, because we're about to unravel the unbelievable mysteries, errors, mint mark anomalies, and production quirks that have catapulted this small piece of metal into the pantheon of numismatic legends. And to truly appreciate why this 1991 D quarter has become the subject of fascination for collectors, historians, and investors alike, we need to delve into the intricate world of coin minting, the rare mistakes that slip through quality control, and how even the smallest error, sometimes so tiny it can only be seen under magnification, can turn an otherwise ordinary coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So let's start with the basics. In 1991, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarter dollars bearing the D Mint mark. These coins were part of the standard Washington Quarter series, which had been in circulation since 1932, and were made primarily from a copper-nickel-clad composition. But among this sea of standard currency, one coin has emerged as an anomaly so unique and valuable that it has stunned the numismatic community, and that's because this particular 1991 D quarter contains a series of extremely rare errors that have never been seen together on one coin before, which is precisely what makes it so historically and financially significant. First and foremost, the coin in question was struck on a planchet that was not intended for a quarter. Instead of the typical copper-nickel-clad quarter planchet, it was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or possibly a different denomination entirely. Some experts speculate that it may have been a leftover or transitional planchet, potentially a silver planchet from a previous year or even a MIFED coin blank from another country's contract. This alone is rare enough to make a coin valuable, but the 1991 D quarter doesn't stop there. It also exhibits a double die obverse, which means that during the minting process, the die that struck the front of the coin was misaligned or struck twice, resulting in noticeable doubling of the design elements like the lettering in Liberty, the year 1991, and even subtle distortions on George Washington's face. Doubling errors are one of the most popular and desirable varieties among collectors, especially when the doubling is dramatic and easily visible without magnification. But in this case, the doubling is not only dramatic, it's paired with other major errors that elevate this coin into the stratosphere of rarity. Another feature that sets this coin apart is a misplaced mint mark. The D for Denver appears to be punched not only in the wrong position but also using a mint mark punch from a different year or series, suggesting that it was applied by hand at a time when such procedures had become more mechanized, which opens up the possibility that this particular coin may have been a product of intentional tampering within the mint or a deeply unusual lapse in quality control procedures. And we can't ignore the striking anomalies present on the reverse side of the coin either, where the eagle design shows signs of what's known as a rotated die error, meaning that the front and back designs are not properly aligned with each other. Rotate the coin on a vertical axis and instead of seeing the reverse image upright, it appears at a noticeable angle, indicating that the dies were misaligned when the coin was struck. This type of error is highly collectible on its own, and its presence here only adds to the lore surrounding this extraordinary piece. But what really sends this coin into the upper echelon of value is the combination of all these factors: wrong planchet, double die obverse, misplaced and possibly incorrect mint mark, rotated reverse die, all present on a single specimen, a veritable perfect storm of minting errors that simply should not exist, making this coin not just rare but potentially one of a kind. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything. It's what drives auction prices into the millions, as collectors and investors scramble to own something no one else can ever replicate. And when you pair that rarity with historical context, such as the changing minting procedures in the early 1990s, the phasing out of certain manual processes, and the increasing reliance on machine precision, the existence of such a flawed yet perfectly preserved coin becomes even more baffling and valuable. Some experts believe that this coin may have been a test strike, an experimental piece that somehow made its way into circulation, while others speculate it could have been an intentional strike by a mint employee aware of its potential value, which brings us to another intriguing angle: the possibility of provenance and secrecy, because part of what drives up the value of error coins is the mystique surrounding their origin. And with this 1991 D quarter, rumors abound of its discovery in a roll of quarters from a Federal Reserve Bank, with no official record of its striking, further fueling speculation that its existence is something the mint would prefer to forget. But the cat is out of the bag, and once the coin was authenticated by multiple grading agencies including PCGS and NGC, both of which assigned it the highest grade ever seen for a quarter of its kind and confirmed its unique error combinations, the buzz in the collector community turned into a frenzy, and private offers reportedly climbed from thousands to tens of millions of dollars as wealthy collectors and even institutional investors began to see the coin as both a rare asset and a piece of American history. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that bridges the gap between accident and art, that encapsulates a moment in time when a convergence of tiny mistakes gave birth to a masterpiece. And now imagine that this masterpiece is small enough to fit in your pocket, yet powerful enough to disrupt the entire coin market. Because that's exactly what happened. Once news of this coin's existence spread, it sparked renewed interest in the 1991 D quarter series as a whole, with collectors scrutinizing their own stashes for similar errors, hoping lightning might strike twice. And while minor errors have been found on other coins from the same year, none come even close to the magnitude of anomalies present on the $106 million specimen, which has been dubbed by some as the Mona Lisa of mint errors, and it's not just hype. This coin has been featured in numismatic journals, discussed at coin expos, and even became the subject of legal debate over ownership rights and tax implications, as the coin's anonymous finder reportedly faced offers from museums, private collectors, and international buyers, each eager to add this unicorn to their collection. So the next time you come across a handful of quarters, take a second look, because you never know what might be hiding in plain sight. And while the odds of finding another coin like this are astronomically small, the existence of the $106 million 1991 D quarter proves that sometimes the greatest treasures come not from ancient ruins or buried chests, but from the everyday objects we too often overlook. So whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual enthusiast, let this story serve as a reminder of the hidden value that might be just a coin flip away. And with that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story like this one, because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest detail can be worth a fortune.